Tushar, you're muted.
Tushar,
Good afternoon, everyone. As it is truly said, elevate yourself so high that before issuing every decree of destiny, even God should ask, tell me what is that you wish for. Instilling the indomitable courage and ingenuity is the finance and investment cell of the Department of Professional Studies, Christ Universities. Welcome to the fifth episode of Let's Talk series, where we interact with young minds who are not only alumni of the university, but also represent an area of prestigious companies where they set off ripple effect of value addition. In conversation today, we have with us Kajal Fitkriwala, a former finance operation analyst at DE Shaw and a student at IIM Bangalore. Having graduated with a BBA degree, she is here today to share with us her invaluable experience. The moderators for today are Mansi and I, Tushar Fitkriwala from the Finance and Investment Cell of DPS. So, Kajal, through the course of conversation, let's trace your journey right from your recruitment at DE Shaw to a student at IIM Bangalore. Let's kickstart the discussion.
So, hi Kajal. Before we move on with the interview process, the audience would like to hear about your journey right from schooling to becoming a student at the IIM.
okay. Thank you so much, Mansi and Tushar, first of all, for having me over here. And I'm really glad and I'm excited to share my journey with everyone who's listening today. Thank you so much to all the participants as well as the audiences for joining. So, if I were to talk in short about my journey from schooling to IIM, I think I'll just start from the very basic. I come from Patna. I come from a school called Radiant International School. That is where I studied from class 3rd to class 12th, and I passed out from that school itself. So that holds to be my biggest alma mater, and that's where my journey started. That's where my career started. Um, in my journey, I was always a very driven student towards studies because I come from a family where people were into business, and I was always told by my mom that okay, this is something that's not there for you, so you have to carve your own path. And I think 20 years before, this was the major way our parents used to stylize their kids, and they used to mold their kids. So my mom used to keep telling me that okay, we do have a business, baby, but this is not something that you will be taking up, so you have to carve your own way. And I saw that in my family. I saw the trend in my family. Everyone who is from my family will agree to that. So from the beginning itself, there's one thing that I always did, and that was studying. Because I used to feel like if someone does not study, what else do they do? Like when I used to go to school and kids around me wouldn't come prepared for exams or wouldn't come with their homework, my question would be, what did you do the last day when you went home after school? Because I studied. So that's how I was always wired. Okay, that's how kids in my house are wired. So I always was very interested in academics. I was always somebody who, plus I had this millennial thing much before the millennial era came in, which was called FOMO, the fear of missing out. So I used to feel like if I don't perform well, I'll miss out on a lot of things. So that sort of began my journey of trying my real best to achieve. And that's how I passed my class 10th from Radiant. And then I always was very interested in commerce. I was never a science kid, never liked science. So it was a very natural choice for me to take up commerce in my class 12th in Patna in Radiant International School. And I did really well. I was very lucky to have found some really amazing teachers and mentors who taught me the basics and foundations of the subject that I came to love so much. And then after doing commerce, again, it becomes sort of like a natural route for people to pursue CA, because anyone who is an overachiever in the commerce field wants to become a CA. This is what I thought I wanted to. So I started to pursue it. I started to study. But that's when I realized, in those 8 months of very crazy schedules and preparation, insanely studying all the time, I realized this is not who I am. Because I used to learn a lot of things in school. I used to not just study. I was the head girl of my school. I used to be heading the dance team in my school. I used to do a lot of things. And when I was doing CA, I felt like somewhere I was putting everything on the wrong foot. Maybe my approach was wrong, but I just realized that this is not something what I want to do. So after pursuing my CA for a year, after writing the IPCC exam, alongside, I was also appearing for interviews at Christ University for BBA. And then I got admission into Christ. I came to Christ. 2 months later, I realized that I passed the IPCC exams. That's when my parents started calling me back. They said, it's okay, it's done, it's fine. You just come back, pursue your CA, take it forward. But that's where I had to put my foot down. So that was one big decision that I took in my life all on my own, that I'm not going to continue this. I came to Christ. 2 months I spent in that college. I swear to God, I loved it. The amount of opportunities that Christ threw at me from day one when I walked inside the door of that campus, it was unmatchable. And I was having a gala time in just 2 months. And I realized I could see how my life is going to go for the next 3 years. So I decided to stay back. And that was one of the best decisions I took in my life. I continued studying at Christ, which got me placement at one of the most amazing companies that I know I have worked for, is D. Shaw. I was very grateful to be placed there as an associate, and then I was promoted to an analyst. And then after completing 3 years, last year when I was actually completing 2 years, I started to realize that maybe it's time to move on. It's time to learn something new. It's time to find a better crowd. And I never started off my journey thinking I will make it to IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore. I just started off, I want to do an MBA. Let me start studying. Let me do something different. I want to do a master's degree. That's where I started from. But as luck would have it, it all worked out in my favor, and here I am. So yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Very
Kajal.
nice.
That was very,
It's difficult actually from stepping from CA to do this.
That's
that
right.
was very insightful from your part.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that most of the students wish to pursue further studies before working, what intrigued you towards opting to work rather than continuing your studies? Also, what are your suggestions to anyone who wants to make a choice between the two?
Okay, I'll tell you something about this. Okay, I've spoken about this to a couple of people before also, and I think it is very subjective. Okay, sometimes in life, everything does not pan out in the way you plan. Okay, honestly speaking, I was never somebody who would take up a job before finishing studies. When I went to Christ also, I used to tell my parents that Abhi, I want to study for 4 5 6 years, and then I will think about going into a job or settling down or starting earning and all of that. But sometimes things just come your way, and some opportunities that you cannot let go of. And if you guys must be aware, Christ invites Disha on day zero on campus, right, for placements. So I had just entered my third year. It was July. June the session had started. It was July, and Disha had just come to campus. So I just decided to try my luck and see how good I am at converting a call from a particular company, or interview of an office. And it was my first attempt. It was my first insight into a corporate world, and I made it. And when I made it, then I actually took this thought that, okay, fine, I have gotten this opportunity, let me grab it. I thought about it a lot. A lot of people told me that you still want to do your masters, it's okay, just tell them you don't want to join, just decline the offer and go study. But then I decided that, you know what, let me see how it looks like. Let me go to the industry and see, maybe I will at least understand, before I go ahead and study and do more theoretical addition to my knowledge base. Let me go see how practical life actually looks like. It will tell me what all are my weak points, right? What all things I am good at, what all things I need to improve upon, and that how to apply it in a practical scenario, I will learn probably. That was my only thought when I looked at picking D Shaw over studying further. And my advice to anyone who is in a situation like this is, listen to your heart, because there is no right or wrong. Okay, it's not wrong to be a fresher and start studying for MBA, and it's not wrong to have a work ex of 2 to 3 to 4 years and then come. It has its own pros and cons. You have to understand what you want in the long run, right? Like if you even look at the selection criteria of colleges, some colleges prefer that you have work experience, especially abroad, and some colleges do not. So you have to think about how you want your life to pan out. There is no litmus test, there is no black and white, and there is no right or wrong in this question. And either decision that you take, I will assure you, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong, because both ways you will learn something. And I realized this after dropping CA, that your learning never goes to waste. Never.
And apart from that, a practical knowledge is also necessary, as far as we have
Exactly.
heard before,
Exactly.
pursuing a master's.
Exactly. That's what I said, right? Like it lets you tell, self-awareness will come. You will be evaluating what you can do, what you can't do,
That's
what
nice to
skills you
hear from you,
really need
Kajal.
to. Yeah. That's okay. Go on, Mansi.
Okay. Yeah. We know that having a practical knowledge of the subjects is important. Have you had any internship experience during the 3 years of your bachelor's? And what are the skills that you learned from the workplace that you point in your job profile?
So honestly speaking, I was a very co-curricular kid, okay? So I always wanted to spend all my time pursuing something art apart from academics. But then Christ had this mandate that we had to pursue an internship at the end of our second year and before our third year began. So I took my internship at Birla Sun Life Insurance Company. It was a completely new platform for me. I was moving into a life insurance industry. I had no idea to begin with, but I feel like the 8 weeks that I spent at Birla Sun Life were very insightful, because from being a complete beginner, not even a beginner, from being a negative, I was in the negative area when it comes to insurance or life insurance, general insurance, anything of that sort. I got so much insights into how that industry works. I was working as a customer service executive. I was in their operations team as an intern, but those people were really helpful. They were very the branch manager or the people who were in sales, they used to conduct sessions with me. They used to make me sit in a classroom and teach me the nuances of the insurance industry, and that really piqued my interest. So I think that experience just holds in the terms that it if nothing else, this my father used to tell me, that if nothing else, we will learn how to sit in an office from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's also something you really need to know, right? So that's also something that I really learned from there. And yeah, I found some really good mentors at Birla who were very helpful in my entire 8 weeks of internship.
Seems like Birla gave you a very good experience and helped you tying up with a hectic schedule at Disha.
Yes, it did absolutely.
So moving on to the next one. Talking about recruitments, did you sit for direct placements from the college or sat for it externally?
No, like I just mentioned, I sat through the college itself. Disha was the first company to visit campus the year we were passing out, and so I just took the campus placement from Disha.
Yeah, that seems nice to hear from you. Now, after that, as far as we know, getting started at the D show is not a cakewalk. Can you please guide us on how Christ University helped you with the selection process?
So, Christ University taught me a lot of things in the past 2 years, right? It taught me how to frame answers. It taught me how to be confident. So, the D Show interview was my first ever interview for a company of sorts, right? I'd interviewed for colleges before, I'd interviewed for fests before, but I'd never interviewed for a corporate job, right? But Christ really taught me a lot. I learned the diversity in my profile that I was able to build because of the 2 years I spent at Christ. That was really helpful, I think, in my selection process. So,
Nowadays, organizations hunt for candidates who are not only studious, but also active in other arenas of life. So, what were your co curricular accomplishments during the college years that gave you an edge in the IIM selection process?
absolutely, Tushar. These days, every university is looking for a diverse set of people. They're looking for people who can not just study but also do a lot of things, right? So there's a word that is floated which is called employable. People look if you are employable or not, and an employable person is not someone who can sit in front of a laptop for like 8 hours a day and has a typing speed of 100 words per second per minute, whatever. That's not what it means these days. It means that you have to have a lot of other activities that you would have done. And in Christ, I found my calling in theater. I was a part of the Zealous Productions in Christ University for the all 3 years of my life. I was a very, very active member. I used to write plays, I used to direct plays, I used to perform in them. And I spent my 3 years doing that. Apart from that, I also spent a lot of time in organizing. So I love organizing and planning events. Okay, well, whether it be parties or virtual, happy hours, or family functions, or great events of college like Esprit, or Department of Management Studies used to host Vistas, Thrive, and Esprit. Those three were our like flagship events that we had. So I was a very active member of the organizing committee in 3 years of college. I was the head of backstage, and I had a very amazing team to work with. It was so much fun coming up with ideas and deploying them on field. And why I loved being a part of the backstage team is that whenever you put an idea on paper and you realize, you think, okay, this is how my event will go, this is how it'll flow, and then when you're standing behind and you see everything unfolding on stage exactly how you've imagined it, it's something really beautiful. So that is something that I did in college that also helped me, because that, for at IIM selection processes, I could sell those as being in charge. I could tell them that I have been in charge of great events and I have taken them from scratch to success, and so I have it in me to be a good leader and a manager. So I think those experiences of co-curriculars at Christ were very helpful.
It's very inspiring from you to take how to manage both studies as well as curriculars. There is a fear among every aspirant that if they don't perform academically, they would be left out. How important is it to perform academically well at the undergraduate level to make a way to these prestigious universities?
See, I will be very blunt about it. Your marks do matter. Okay. People do say that they don't, but at some level they do matter. There is a composite scoring when it comes to selections to IIMs, the bigger IIMs, and they all are looking for people who have had a good track record. What happens is that people, see, this is what I understood out of the entire selection process, that they are looking for people who are consistent. Okay, so if you've had good grades, not amazing, you don't have to be topper all throughout, you don't have to be like rank one every time, but if you've been consistent in your performance, if you've consistently been like the top 10 students of your class, top 10 students of your batch, it does go a long way. So especially in undergrad, I think a decent average score is very important. Obviously, they see everything else that is there in your CV to offer, but your scores are the first shortlisting criteria, not just for colleges, but also for jobs and companies, right? Which is why I feel like you should definitely spend some time for what you've come to do in college, that is studying. So, yeah, scores do not define you, but they matter, is what I will leave the thought with.
But on the other hand, I also feel like there are a bunch of students in our college and all around the world, the country, who have an all-rounded resume but haven't performed academically. So what is your piece of advice to them so they don't miss out on their dream college like the IIM?
So in that case, your distinguishing factor will be that you crack their written exams, right? Like for like GMAT for abroad colleges, or CAT. If you get a stellar score in CAT, bro, nobody is going to say no to you. So exactly, if you've not done well in college, you don't have to fret. You still have CAT, you still have GMAT, you still have GRE, or any other management entrance examinations that you can write. You can perform well at those, and then once you get a shortlist, then it's all your application, it's all your profile that is going to matter, and how you present yourself is going to matter. So you still have an option. It's not like it's zero. It's the day is still shining bright on you, so don't worry.
Now that you've told us how you manage your co-curriculars, we would like to know that how did your study schedule look like? And could you guide our audience as to how they prepare for the CAT examinations? Should they start their preparation along with the undergraduation, or how should they go about it?
Okay. To be honest, so I did not start studying for CAT when I did my undergrad, because I got placed and I had decided that I'm going to take up the offer. And also 2 years into my work life, I did not really think, because first year I knew that I don't want to quit. I was enjoying the work. Second year also, my work had actually gotten a little more hectic, especially that I was in office. We were at the workplace. It had got a little hectic for me. But that's when I'd started thinking about moving on. So it did come like a very conscious decision that I have to start studying. So I started studying right at the onset of the pandemic. Okay, I started taking classes and I started going to those classes. But then the pandemic struck, and then for 2 months, everything was haywire, right? Last year in March and April, everything went haywire. People did not know what to do. I came back to my hometown. My classes were in Hyderabad. So I did not know what to do. My classes, people were also thinking how to have classes online. The whole world was figuring things out, right? So at that point of time, I thought that, okay, fine, I don't know if I want to do this. So I seriously started studying very late. Okay, because when I came home, I was having a really tough time adjusting to work from home. It was a very big shift for someone like me. I'm a very social person. So for me, moving from office arena to my home place, and that too alone, and my work schedule is very, very busy from April to June. Like, that's my peak season for the team that I work in at Disha, and I had a lot of work on my plate. So till June, July, I'll be very honest that I overlooked my preparations for CAT by a huge margin. In July, I finally started realizing that, okay, if I don't do it now, I will not do it ever. So I decided that I should start studying. But what I did is, what my study plan looked like is that I used to have classes with time in the morning. So 7 to 10, I used to have classes. Then I used to take a break. I used to go log into my office. I used to work all day. I couldn't do this juggling part where I'm studying also, I'm working also. I could not. So at the end of the day, at 10, when I used to log out from work, that's when I used to sit and I used to open my book, just revise and practice the concepts that I learned in class that morning. This is one thing that I did consistently. I will be very candid and honest that I did not do anything more than this. I studied for those 3 hours in the morning, and then I studied for in the night when I used to revise those concepts, just to ensure that tomorrow when I sit in the class, I shouldn't be like, oh shit, what is this person saying? So that I did. The other thing that, as a suggestion to people, this is how my journey went, right? But it's different for different people. So as a suggestion, you should definitely have a very core and concrete plan at least 6 months prior to when you're writing your CAT score, when you're writing your CAT, right? So you have to at least plan 6 months in advance. You have to figure out all your weak points. Like, I knew that my weakest point is QA. I knew that cons is something that I have lost touch with. I have no, like, even basic maths I had lost touch with. So I knew that I have to start from the beginning and I have to start from the scratch and trigger down my way to the path. So that's something that I did very rigorously. Quants classes I used to never miss. But that being said, it's obviously, you should not overlook other sections, because this time, I don't know how many of you know this, but quants came fairly okay. LRDI paper, people saw and people lost their minds. So CAT can be really unpredictable. That is why you should be prepared for everything. You should start taking mocks at least 3 to 4 months in advance, right? If you've written 20 mocks at least, even if you don't score well in mocks, right, don't fret. Write mocks. That is very, very important. I did this mistake that I started taking mocks only in October, within, like 1.5 months to go for exam, which was a very stupid mistake to do. I realized this later on, that at least, especially because in our time, 3 hours reduced to 2 hours, and so practice was all the more important. 2 hours, 3 hours, you feel like there is time. For 2 hours, you feel like there is no time. The time is going off and you can't do this anymore, which is why I feel like mocks are very important. And you can find plethora of mocks online. If you're registered with an institute like Career Launcher or time, they will definitely give you like so much that you can't even take. But if you're not registered with them, if you want to do self study because because you're working also, and you can't have the commitment to a particular institute, even then there are a lot of mock papers available online which you should definitely make use of. So two things: make your schedule, stick to the schedule, find your weak points and work on them, and take a hell lot of mocks before your exams. And I think that's enough, and then it works in your favor.
And as we can figure out from what Kajal said, we need to have a dedication as well. I mean, waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning, taking a 3 hour class, then going to your office from like 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. in the night, and then sitting to your study desk and practicing the mocks. That's something which I may not prefer to do because I'm not that dedicated towards college. But
Yeah, so
hats off to
it's
you.
about how badly you want it. Okay, I wasn't wanting it that badly in between, so I had my days where I used to lag a lot, but then I kept saying to myself that okay, it's not, you won't be able to do it without this much amount of dedication, so
Yeah.
there's a bare minimum.
So, Kajal, did you ever think of pursuing your post graduation from universities abroad, like majority of us from this generation?
Honestly, no. Honestly, I don't want to leave the country. I did not ever think about it. You could call it my own personal choices. You could call it my family choices. But I never. This conversation that I had with my parents also, they said that this country has a lot of opportunities. Please explore those, and we will never stop you from anything. But try being here. And I also think not like I don't want to. I would obviously if someday I got an opportunity, I would like to. But as of now, I never thought. So I never really appeared for GMAT. I never studied for GMAT either. It was always very clear in my mind that I'm going to appear for CAT and try getting a master's education from the country itself.
Yeah, that's very nice. With a good CAT score, you would really try to stay in your country and study from here itself. Uh, moving on, being aware of the fact that you got into the 17 IIMs of the country, you must have cracked all the interviews. We would appreciate if you could throw some light on the common areas that were touched upon in all of the interview processes.
Okay, this is tricky and funny because all my interview experiences were so diverse, so different. Every time I used to walk into an interview expecting, okay, this will go like this based on my previous interview with the previous IIM, they used to surprise me. So you have to be prepared with everything. Okay, you have to be prepared for stress rounds, you have to be prepared for general knowledge, you have to be prepared with your academics, you have to be prepared with your work experience, you have to be prepared with your curriculars, and you have to be 150% prepared with your HR questions because they can throw anything at you. So these are the basics, right? These are the foundations that every college follow. Now it is up to your luck. Like I can recall a couple of interviews where nothing was talked about my academics or my work experience at all. So it can happen that those topics are not even touched upon. So there's nothing that I can say is common across the interview process, but this is the framework. This is the basic framework of any interview for an IIM, and you have to be prepared for all these points. And if you're prepared, then anything they throw at you, you're ready, right? So you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, some things, even if you prepare, you can't be ready, like GK with me. Ancient history questions, I don't know how I fielded them, but those questions are also asked a lot in these interviews. So you can expect the unexpected basically with these interviews.
The
Everything is
horizons, the horizon seems to be pretty big.
pretty big.
So
Yeah, it's a vast ocean. They can ask you anything. It's just that you should be very self-aware, right? Always, this is one thing that my mentors used to tell me, that do not fake. Do not go there and try to be who you are not. Be who you are. You are a good person. You are a good student who has done a lot throughout your life. Just trust that and go there and do, exuberate confidence when you're sitting in front of them. If you don't know something, also please say that you don't know something, because unnecessarily wasting their time and your time is not going to serve your purpose. So
yeah, you should prepare for the unexpected.
yes, always.
Kajal, which interview was the most challenging among all? And
Oh, you
if
want me to?
there's any good story from the particular interview that you would like to share.
Okay, I'll share a story, but I don't want to take the name of the institute. Right, I'll just share the
Yeah,
story. So this was my first interview. Okay, this was the first interview of the season. After I gave a couple, I became a seasoned player. Anyone who has appeared for interviews this year, if you ask them, they will say that towards the end it started to feel like, oh wow, just get it over with, because towards the end you become a seasoned player. Even then, there's a lot of things that they can ask you that you have no idea about. But my first interview was unexpectedly a stress interview. So the one thing that I was not prepared for was getting a stress interview. So I walk inside the interview room, the Zoom call, and those people are sitting there looking really nice, very sweet. They start the conversation very nicely, and then then I don't know, minutes later, what got into them, they started questioning every word I spoke. They started answering and pointing out everything. So in fact, I will tell you this funny story, that that day of the interview, there was a ceremony, prayer ceremony at my place. So I had this tika on my forehead. Okay. And they just sat there looking at me, and they're like, oh, so you went to the temple, you prayed, right? That, so that you can crack this interview, you can make it to our college. But let me tell you, that is not going to help you. And I'm looking at them, and I was like, no, I am sorry, I did not do this. It wasn't on purpose. Like, there's a prayer ceremony, I attended it, and I just came and sat for the interview. So things like these will also happen. They will look at how you're sitting, they will look at how you're, and a stress interview does not have to make sense. And I did not know this, so I was trying to find sense in the 15 minutes of conversation. And then later, when I disconnected that call, I called up my mentors and I asked them that, hey, this happened. They said, as long as you did not yell back at them, you're good to go, you're going to convert that college. And I did. So yeah, that was a very funny it didn't seem as funny to me at that point. I swear I was crying right after I cut the call. I went to my mom, I hugged her, I'm like, Mom, I screwed up big time. I don't think I'm going to make it to this college. But yeah, the idea was to not lose your calm, and I just kept smiling throughout, which did the trick.
That's so nice. Like, you didn't lose your calm, even though they had unexpected.
Yeah. See, that's their idea. They want to see you lose your calm. If you don't give them what they want, they will take you in. So
Yeah. So moving ahead, making a choice amongst the 17 of them must have been very exercising. What made you choose IIM Bangalore over the rest of the IIMs?
So for me, it was more like the choice between the top two, to be honest. I had narrowed it down to A and B, and I had a really tough time choosing, because I was looking at a lot of things. I was discussing with a lot of people. I spoke to a lot of consultants, seniors, alumni from both the institutions, and both of these, hands down, are amazing institutions. I could not have believed, or thought in my wildest dreams, that I will be the one making a choice like this. It was a tough journey. It was a tough decision, but I think I just looked at a few parameters. I just found that B would be a more better cultural fit for me, a better fit for me in terms of the kind of academics that B has, and a better fit in terms of the kind of crowd of lateral hires that come to B. So those were the some considerations that went into this decision, and then I just listened to my heart, which said that, okay, just go back to Bangalore. So
Yeah,
in terms of quantifiable results, I feel like A and B are right there, like they're right there. And I'm really, really honored to have gotten this opportunity to be a part of both of these institutions. So yeah, there's nothing to say that A or B are better than each other or not better than each other. So
this must have been a tough decision to
very,
make.
very tough.
Thinking about what placements you will get, what type of crowd will you get, which name will suit you in your future. Everything has to be taken into consideration.
Taken into consideration. Absolutely.
So Kajal, now let us come to a bit of fun round. This is called a rapid fire round, where we both will ask you certain questions, and you have to reply it in 1 or 2 words.
Okay.
So yeah, here we go.
Yep.
One thing that lightens your mood after a hectic day.
Friends or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One episode and I'm set.
That is, yeah. One skill set that you learned late, but which the upcoming batches to learn in their young age.
Oh, I learned Microsoft Excel really late, and I should have done that earlier. I felt like, everyone should have basic knowledge of Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. And I got it very late. So yeah, if you're listening to this, please go ahead, take your course. Very handy for the rest of your life.
Even these are some basic job requirements nowadays.
Yeah,
Excel,
job requirements,
PowerPoint.
and I think it's like basic skill, right? Like cooking and driving are basic life skills. I think
Yes.
Excel and PowerPoint are basic life skills, so you should have them.
If you were to describe how you are feeling about your admission at the IIM with one word, what would that be?
Unbelievable.
Sorry?
It's unbelievable. So,
Okay. One movie or TV show or book you would recommend everyone to watch?
Oh, I think book would be The Kite Runner. I really love that book. I've read it a lot of times, and I have my few quotes and thoughts that I've gathered from that. So if you've not read it, and if you enjoy reading, you should definitely read The Kite Runner. Definitely, it's a very, very good book.
And what about the TV show or a movie?
Oh, I enjoy a lot of sitcoms. But let's say I'm a very big fan of Suits. I know it's from the bygone era and everyone would have definitely watched it. But I feel like the relevance of that show is still very high. I love Suits. Otherwise, I'm a sitcom fan, so Friends and Brooklyn Nine-Nine for a hectic day. And in terms of movies, I just watched The Founder like very recently, 3 nights ago, and I really loved it. It's a movie about how McDonald's came into being. So learning how my favorite burger reached my plate was a very enriching thing to watch. So really good movie.
One thing that keeps you constantly motivated, no matter what the situation is.
Like I said, right, that my mom used to tell me from when I was a child that you have to make your own path. That word keeps resounding in my head. So that keeps me motivated. Whenever I feel like, okay, I'm done, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, even then it just comes slapping back in my head that, okay, you have to do something for yourself and your family. And that keeps me really motivated.
That's amazing. Seems like you have manifested IIMs and you have manifested things
I
that you
have
have achieved.
manifested I am. Yeah, that for sure has happened.
Seems good. Like an alumni from our college reaching such great heights. Good to hear that. So now, this brings us to an end of discussion. We'll now take up the questions asked by the audience. So if any of you have any question, we can go ahead with it. So Kajal, there's one question in the chat box which says, what is the right time to start for GMAT or CAT?
Okay. So for GMAT, though, I feel like you have flexibility throughout the year. I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on GMAT because I never really took the exam, so I did not do a lot of digging in. But I've seen my friends and colleagues study for GMAT, so I know that there are a couple of opportunities throughout the year that you can go for it. So ideally, at least I feel like once you've lost touch with studies, right, especially people who've gone into work experience, once you've lost touch from study, you should take at least a 6 month uh, time to study and appear for an exam of these big magnitudes like CAT and GMAT. If you're a student and if you are in the flow, then I think you can just go for 3 to 4 months of preparation for GMAT and 6 months for CAT. For CAT, you should definitely start because I feel like CAT requires less. It's less complicated. It's more practice and rigor based, right? You have to practice to sit in that hall for 3 hours and maintain your calm and maintain your composure in the exam halls. So yeah, that's something that's important.
Kajal, there's a question from Kartika Rajesh which says,
Mhm.
was Excel taught to you as a part of your undergraduate degree?
It was not at Christ. It was not taught, but it was made. We were made to use it in a lot of our like research projects and SPSS and hypothesis testing activities. But I did not learn it there. Right? I used to make other people do it for me. So when I went to Shaw, that's where I made a very conscious effort to learn Excel.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions popping in. So one of them is, what is the preferable GPA to maintain for the IIMs?
So, okay, people say that there is a 998 rule. Okay, so the 998 is that 10th is 90% plus, 12th is also 90% plus, and graduation is 80% plus. So, a decent score would be a 998 to maintain to get profile based selections at IIMs. Like once it comes down to your profile, if you have a 998, it just gives you +5, +5, +5 in all your composite scoring. So 80% and above, that is, I think, GPA of 3.6 or 3.7 on an average. So that should be good enough.
Kajal, there's a question from Rachna which says, could you elaborate more on how to manage CAT prep and IM interviews along with a hectic work schedule?
Okay, so CAT prep gets over when your interview session starts, right? So up till CAT prep, you have to be on your toes. Like you have to have a schedule. Okay, you need to set aside time to practice your weak points along with your work. When it comes to interview preparations and when it comes to selection, so I'll just run you through the process. Once you give your CAT scores are out. Based on your CAT scores, you receive interview calls from the colleges. The interview calls that come to you, they actually ask you to fill an application form. Okay, and that application form itself is different for different colleges. Some colleges will ask you to write 600-word SOPs. Some colleges will just ask you to provide some brief about yourself. Some colleges will ask questions, right? They will have questions like, talk about your work experience, talk about something that happened during your work experience that you think you would have done differently. Like every college has its own way of framing that application form. So it's very important that that application form is also presented as beautifully as you would have written your CAT, right? So that application form should have complete information, truthful information about you, and you should put in some effort into writing your SOP, because that is something that they will pick up when they are taking your interviews. So you should ensure that whatever you're writing in your application is true and you're 150% sure about what you're saying. Because when you write questions, when you answer questions like why you want to do an MBA, you have to have a very clear cut answer in your head before you approach that question in the interviews. Because almost every interview will definitely ask you why you want to do an MBA. And unless you convince them with your answer, they are not going to select you. Once the interview process starts, you have to, so those interview months, right, from roughly mid Feb to end of April, you have to keep studying, right? You have to keep being aware of what is happening around you. You have to be a generally aware student. You know, you need to know what's happening around the world, and you need to be very self-aware. So you should start asking questions to yourself that you think an interviewer will ask. And once you start asking yourself and answering those questions, that is the best way to prepare. Like I used to do this. I used to ask myself, what is my biggest weakness or what is my biggest strength? And the answers that came directly from my heart, I used to write them down, and that is the answer I used to use for my interviews. So you have to set aside some time even during the PI process, because PIs can get really hectic. And we were lucky to not have GDs and WATs for most institutions. I had my WAT only for Ahmedabad and Bangalore. But yeah, in case things get better next year and you guys are planning to, you guys appear next year, there might be GDs and WATs also. So you need to set aside time to be prepared for those as well.
So there's a question from Arjun Singh which says, how important is it to, like, if you have a professional degree like the CFA, FRM, CIMA, CS, or CA, so do they count during the selection process of the IIMs?
It does matter, right? It just gives a more good better advantage to your profile. But having said that, even if you don't have it, does not take anything away from you. I didn't have a professional degree, so it would have added some points to a peer of mine who had it, but it does not take it away from me. As long as I have enough to push my profile ahead, you don't have to worry about it. But of course, these professional degrees, as I said, learning never goes to waste, and they definitely add a lot more to your personality as well as to your resume.
There's one common question from almost three to four of student which says, what is the relevance of internship for CAT? Does it add an edge over the selection process?
No. So when you're writing your application forms, this is something that a lot of people don't know. They say that work experience only full, yeah, like they ask you to enter information only about full-time work experience, not an internship. So this selection will not matter when it comes to your internship experiences. But the interviews, your internships will matter when you sit for job interviews, right? So for those, you can prepare your profile, you can do a lot of internships for that. But for selections to IIMs, your internships won't matter because you won't be asked to enter those in the form at all.
So there's a question which says, what was your answer to why you want to do MBA from that college specifically? Like, why did you choose IMB over IMA or anything?
So, first of all, no interviewer asks you why you want to do MBA from this college. They will ask you why you want to do an MBA. Then some colleges will ask you, okay, what other calls you have. Okay, and then you have to justify yourself that, say if you're sitting for an interview at IIM Indore or Lucknow, and if they ask you what are the calls you have, and if you say that I have calls from ABC and I have calls from Lucknow Kozhikode also, they will definitely ask you, oh, then so you're definitely going to choose A if you get selected, you're not going to come to our college, then why are you wasting our time and stuff like that. They will definitely ask you such questions. So you should always be prepared. Okay, like, see, there are, again, as I said, there are no right or wrong answers. You should always custom make your answers. Like, I was asked this question in Lucknow, and I said that at this point of time, and then my Ahmedabad interview had not happened in my Lucknow interview, and I was very blunt about it, and I said this, that, sir, at this point of time, I'm just reveling in the fact that I have calls from such great institutions, and I'm going to give my best in each and every interview that comes. Once I have that opportunity to actually make the decision is when I want to worry about it. At this point of time, I'm only worried about making a good impression. And they were really happy with the answer that I gave, right? So you have to come up with an answer. You have to also, one thing that I will say is you to gauge the temperament of your interviewer, right? Like, some interviewers are very chill, very laid back. Some interviewers are on their toes throughout. They're asking you questions only to put you down. So you have to ensure how you impress those interviewers. So that's something. And okay, I did not answer what I said to the question of why MBA. So I had prepared this answer in my head, right? I knew why I wanted to do an MBA. My answer was not an answer that people come up with Google and Quora questions. I knew that I wanted to do an MBA because I wanted to switch my career path. Now I wanted to learn something new. I wanted to explore. So I had worked in operations. I wanted to explore more management side of the role, and I wanted to network with the right kind of people. So I knew that this is what I wanted, why I want to do an MBA. It might look like an answer of 2000 other kids also, but this is my reality, and I wanted to not digress from that. So I stuck to that answer, and yeah, it went well.
That's amazing to know. So there's one question which says, do you need a mentor or a coaching of sorts when it comes to interview or writing SOPs, or just being the best and authentic version of yourself works too?
So again, it is subjective, right? So for me, I did not need help with SOPs because I'm good at writing, and I'm good at understanding what I feel, what I'm thinking about right now. So I'm good at writing. I did not need that. Interviews के लिए, I think as I said, right, that I went without any preparation or mentoring for my first interview. Then it turned out to be a stress interview, which is when I realized that maybe I should take some guidance because I was not prepared for this. So maybe I should take some guidance from people. And as I said, I was already enrolled with Time, and Time does give mentorship for interviews. So I took like 2 to 3 sessions with them, which really helped me, which told me how my attitude in answering should be, how candid should I be, how candid should I not be, how should I approach controversial topics like political questions and stuff like that. So those did come really handy for me because I had no knowledge. Apart from that, watching a lot of YouTube videos of interviews also helped me a lot. I used to watch a lot of interviews of people who converted IIM A, B, C, ILK. I used to watch those throughout the day. Like, even when I was working on one, my headphones would play interviews from people who've cracked these colleges. So those also came in a lot handy. So it depends upon how good you are prepared. If you think you need help, it's never a problem asking for help. There are so many people out in the market and in the domain who are very, very willing to help young minds reach the position that they dream of. So please go ahead and ask for help if you want.
So one last question.
Sure.
Did the name of the DE show or the role in which you were in mattered in your IIM selection process?
See, so I feel like this is my understanding. Okay, I don't know how they marked me on it, right? But this is my understanding that which company you work for does not matter, right? But what work you have done and how much you know your work inside out matters. So I don't think they will say that you are from D Shaw, so we will take you into IIM. You're from JP Morgan, so we won't. I don't think that's there. But the work that you did at D Shaw, do you or do you not know completely inside out about it? That's something that is important. So when they, like, a couple of my interviews asked me, especially Bangalore, I think was very heavily based towards my work ex. So they asked me a lot of questions, not just about the work I did at D-Shaw, but also general awareness about the work that I do in the market and in the industry, right? Like, I used to work in the compliance team. So how much of about compliance do I know in the industry of financial services. That's something is very important. So it doesn't matter where you work, it matters what you do and whether or not you have complete in-depth knowledge of what you've done for the past 3 years or how much ever you worked for.
With this question, we reached the end of the Q&A session. I, on behalf of the entire FIC team, would like to thank Kajal for her valuable insights, which not only gave the students additional clarity, but also inspiration to strive for success. We'd also like to thank the Department of Professional Studies, Professor Bidget Toms, HOD Kavita ma'am, and Matthew sir for their constant guidance and support. We thank you all for attending. We shall be sharing the speaker's LinkedIn profile as well as other mentioned resources. Feel free to reach out to them for any queries and do follow the FIC page on Instagram. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you so much.